Order. And under presentations this evening, it's our privilege to announce our MLA and Cabinet Minister, Ms. Laurie Carr. Welcome, Laurie.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
And thank you for coming, and I'll open the floor for questions, and maybe would you like to say a few things, update us on where you're at and what's happening in the Ledge, or?
Well, sure. I'll just very briefly, because really I'm here to listen to what you guys have to say to me, but once again, it's nice to be here. I try to make it to an actual council meeting at least once a year, but I know we do have the opportunity throughout the year to meet on several different occasions, and my door is always open for you. So this certainly isn't the first time we've met this year, and I'm sure it won't be the last time that we meet. I guess as a province, we're really excited because we're on our 3 years to balanced, and we are in the third year right now, so everybody's fully aware of the tough decisions that were made about 3 years ago to get us back to balanced. And as long as we continue on the path we are right now, we will reach that goal at the end of this fiscal year. So that's pretty exciting for the province. Other than that, I think I'll just open it up to questions and see where we go from there.
Okay, thank you very much, Laurie. I'll open the floor then to members of council if they have any questions, comments. Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Councillor Froba, and then Councillor Yanish.
Thank you for being here, Laurie. I was just wondering, in the last budget, they put in extra money for the mental health services, and I was curious as to if our wait times here in Estevan have gone down at all since that money was put in.
Well, they did. They put $30 million extra in for mental health services, and all of that starts in May. So to actually have numbers in by now to be able to track those is going to be pretty tough, but it would be interesting to see where those are probably 3 to 4 months from now.
Okay, and do they have any new services that are going to be opening up here in Estevan? Because I know a lot of people have to go to Weyburn to access the psychiatrist, that kind of thing. I even heard they go, like sometimes they'll go to Carlisle. And one of the other things I hear is that basically they have to hear or see a different doctor every time. It's not always the same doctor that they get to access.
Okay, so I don't know of anything specifically that's right here in Estevan. You do know that we work very regionalized with all of our other facilities, but I'll certainly check into that and see if there is anything specific.
Yeah, because I just feel that especially some people who have issues with anxiety or things, different mental health issues, especially with the need to see a psychiatrist, it's hard for them to be able to travel. So if Estevan could get access to a psychiatrist, that would be great. But I know you don't have that answer today. I just thought.
No, for sure. And I guess along the mental health services stream, that takes in a wide variety of things like addictions and all of that kind of stuff. So I guess as we're already aware, there are some addiction beds that are going to be coming available, and RFP will be coming out for that. So that is something that possibly could end up within the city of Estevan, depending how that comes out.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Froba. Councillor Yanish, then Councillor Hopper.
Thank you, Worship. Quick question. Laurie, you're our highways minister. Is there any talk about, I know we're looking at 47 South, what about 47 North to 361 corner? That's getting pretty beat up now, and even the patch jobs, it's sometimes better if it was left alone, to the patch jobs seem to be just as bad. Is there any talk of 47 North? Because there's lots of traffic on that highway.
Well, I do know that the crews try really hard to keep it maintained the best that they can, so that would go to the patching job that you're talking about. But currently, I don't see, right now, there's nothing on the list for 47 North. As you're fully aware, we've got 47 South on the list. We're going to be doing passing lanes between Estevan and Regina. Highway 18 west of Estevan has a bunch of work that's happening. From Onger to Torquay was done last year. From Torquay to Onger is going to be done this year. And we'll see where that goes moving forward. So I guess one highway at a time is what I would say. And we're getting a lot of work in this area already.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Yanish. Councillor Hopper.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just will call you Councillor Carr. Used to be former Councillor Carr. Thank you, Laurie, for being here. Just wonder what, if anything, you can provide us for an update on the potential for carbon sequestration on Unit 6 at Boundary Dam or Shand. I know when you had the Premier here in October, he was clear that it was still in the mix, that they hadn't turned their back on or turned away on the notion of expanding the carbon sequestration in Estevan, and said one of the things that would have to happen is the price would have to come down substantially. And it's my understanding now the price has come down substantially. And are we getting closer to potentially having some good news, some that would extend the life of our coal fields here in Estevan and power generation.
For sure. Well, I think you and I are both on the same thought here that we absolutely should have sequestration, more sequestration in the city of Estevan. There's a lot of things that are coming into play right now. So, we talk about the cost of the capital, which has come down substantially. That will help with, when we look at the whole picture. But also there are some new gas regulations that are coming into play that will be effective, I believe, 2021. I don't know how they work exactly, but I do know that they will add to the cost of gas, which was something that was working against coal because gas was so cheap.
So cheap, yeah.
For lack of a better word. But now that'll be another, feather for coal to be able to make that argument and make it more feasible. And when we talk about coal and our whole network as a whole, we still need to truly think about baseload generation and what's going to work when the weather is 40 below throughout those cold winter months and stuff, and talk about that when we're talking about coal and gas and wind and all of those other kinds of economically, environmentally friendly types of power production. And I truly believe coal is environmentally friendly when you talk about 90% sequestration.
Absolutely.
So no, I don't have an announcement for you here tonight, but I truly believe everything that's happening, the pieces are coming together, and when they do another assessment of this versus that, coal will come out much higher in the mix.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Hopper. Councillor Moore.
Thank you, Worship. Minister Carr, when we applied those...
Oh, your mic, yeah,
Oh, where's my mic?
there we are.
Sorry, guys and
Thanks, no
gals.
problem.
Are you new?
We want this to be very clear. Since all the new taxes were installed, I don't remember seeing a figure that we were trying to reach when all was done with the new taxes. But I do know that we upset a lot of people. And I would hope by this stage that some of those taxes will be reversed in the oncoming election. If they're not, I guarantee you, you will not be getting the support that you think you'll be getting. Because some of those taxes have affected some companies big time up to today. And personally, I don't think a lot of thought was put into some of those increases. It just went helter-skelter to find some money. But as that's going on, we've never seen a barometer to say, this is the goal, and this is where we're at. Now, you just said we may balance the budget. Well, my God, if we can't balance the budget after that big tax increase and all those items, we need to shift somewhere. Somebody's got to step in there that can do some calculations. So that's where I sit with the election today. As after all those taxes, we as the public really don't know what it created, where we are with it, and if it's going to stay there, or are we going to get some new ones?
Well, I guess I'll just talk briefly to the 3 years back to balanced again. We set goals for the first year, second year, and third year, and we've reached our goals for both the first year and the second year. And we are fully confident we are going to reach them for the third year. So I guess when you ask about numbers and where are they and are we meeting our targets, I would say that we absolutely are meeting our targets. Right. And it's proven in the numbers that have come out so far in the past 2 years, and moving forward in this next year, I'm sure that we're going to get there. And there were some very hard decisions that needed to be made to be able to get there, so that we don't take that debt years moving forward, so that our children, our grandchildren have to do it. We want to make this province the best place for people to live. And as we get back to balanced, everything will be assessed again. I don't know what that's going to look like exactly, but I'm sure the numbers that you're talking about and the taxes that you're talking about, that's some of the stuff that will absolutely be some of the things that will be looked at and see where we go from there. But I don't know where that's going right now. We're going to get through this fiscal year and get back to balanced and then move forward from there.
Okay, but up to this point, don't you think it would be wise to have those numbers published so we, the public, can see how well we're doing or how well we're not doing? I don't know. Where would I find that? Where would we find it?
Every year when we release our budget, or we do our quarterly releases and we talk about where we're sitting with our budget, it happens quarterly. Every quarter.
Do we know that?
Government of Saskatchewan, we send out news releases. We talk about where we're at. So it should be out there.
Okay.
And if you're having trouble finding it, just go to saskatchewan.ca and it is all on our website.
Okay. I have no trouble finding if it's in print,
Yeah,
as in newspaper.
yeah.
But if
Okay.
it's just going to look like a political flyer that comes out and says, look what we've done. I don't really pay a lot of attention to
Yeah.
that. You know, a lot of it can be fluff.
Well, I mean, and I guess in fairness to our local media, they're very forward, and they talk to me lots, and I do interviews on the radio, and I've talked about being the budget and getting back to balance and being on track. And I know that we've had articles in the newspaper when I do my session end or wrap-ups or year-end, talk about the year-end and how things are going. I know that I always talk about our goal of getting back to balance and where we're at, so.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see what happens there.
Sounds
And I
good.
hope you're right that we have a surplus. While I've got your attention, I want to thank you for 47 South. We have worked for a few years on getting that on board, and I'm personally really excited about it happening. I just want to know, when can we expect some dust flying in that particular part of the province?
Well, first thing that needs to be done is the urban connector part that goes from 4th Street to the south side of the city, and then we go from there to the border. But I know this fall, the tender will be handed out, and they'll probably do all of the crushing during the winter months.
Okay.
And then the actual work, you should be able to start seeing it next summer.
Okay.
So it's not gonna happen this construction season. They're out there doing the geotechnical and figuring out everything that needs to be done, getting the tender put together. That still has to be awarded. And then once
Okay.
that's awarded, they will do the crushing of the gravel throughout the winter and start the work next year.
Okay, I might have been ahead of the game. I thought maybe we were already going to do something
Yeah.
physical with the road. I traveled it last week on the bike, and I tell you, really, I don't know why I feel it's gotten worse, but
It's interesting.
you've
Yes.
got to go slow. You've got to treat it with respect for speed, so. Thanks, Minister
welcome.
Carr, for answering what I needed to ask you. Thank you, Worship.
Okay, yep, no problem, and I know there's tough questions, and I know part of the problem, Lori, when you have a majority government like that, governments tend to get complacent, and it's very important that they don't, and that they do listen to the people, because otherwise things happen, and that's not a threat, it's just the way of the world, so.
Yep. No, I guess I just want to touch on that a little bit. Everybody should have got a mailer that said Saskatchewan 2030, and we're asking for input as to, I guess, the vision that you want to see happen. We have our 2020 plan, and now we want to look out another 10 years as to what direction we want to go as a province. You know, are we on the right path? Do we want to see something different? And I know from some of the feedback I've got back, I mean, people are talking about coal and transitioning, and people are very passionate in this area about that and believe that it truly is a part of the mix. So that's the type of feedback I'm getting back from my area. So if anybody still wants to fill out those cards, it's not too late to send them in. And that's why we're asking, it, because we do want to hear what people have to say.
Okay, well, I appreciate that, and of course, as you are well aware of, we're very passionate about coal and the future of coal and SBC, because that's a
Absolutely.
large part of what drives this city. So, and we know that you will be helping us down that road. And I guess to add, or maybe a question coming out of that, we have asked for some monies to help with the closure of units 4 and 5, with tax breaks, with attraction of companies, businesses, to help make up for the potential economic downfall it will be facing. Now, we haven't heard back from that, but we're hoping with your assistance, we'll maybe hear back from that. And another question we had was the economic impact statement for the closures of units 4 and 5. We would appreciate, some answers on that as well, if you would.
Right, so I guess as far as the funding that you asked for, I know that it's still something that Jeremy Harrison and his shop is looking at. He does truly feel that we as a province need to be helping out in some way, shape, or form. I believe you guys just took a mission trip to Holland, and they supplied someone to go with you from a trade and export development.
Yes, and I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you for that, Laurie, and she was very professional and definitely added to the trip. Definitely had good background and knew what she was talking about. So thank you for that.
That's perfect. And then I also see through the federal funding, you've applied for a position, a couple of positions, and you're getting money through that, and it's application-based.
That's right.
Now, I thought I had read in something that one of those people was going to be doing work on an economic impact assessment.
Well, in Coronach, the Diversification Fund has agreed to help them out. They have said to us, if you want monies for that, you'll have to take it out of your existing allocation. So, you know what that means. Basically, we'll have to find it out of what we have, what has already been allocated.
Well, no, I'll definitely
So-
take it back again and let them know that we are still looking for some type of a document to reference that.
Okay.
And see where we're sitting with regards to the ask that you made of Minister Harrison.
Okay, thank you, Laurie, and appreciate that. Go ahead, Councillor Frank, and then Councillor Vrola.
Just with obviously big change potentially coming no matter what, and particularly no matter what happens in October with power generation in Estevan. This is, I mean, even just recently with the changes that happened to natural gas, they kind of said, obviously we're still looking at what that's going to be and whether we have a conservative government who lets us do some coal with carbon sequestration or a liberal government who doesn't allow that. We know that hopefully after October, one way or the other, there's got to be some sort of announcement because we still need power in this province. Is there a lot of conversations going on from the province about what direction you guys want to go? And I guess the biggest question is, are you at the table at those conversations? I know you're not the Minister of Sask Power by any means, but I certainly think it would be beneficial to Estevan that you be hopefully some part of those conversations, just so that you can kind of give a hometown kind of advantage to us a little bit. Would be nice anyways.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's interesting comments about what's going to happen in October. If there is a change of government, things could look better for us. If they stay the same, then we're going to have to work with what we have, and that's just the reality of it. But absolutely, those types of discussions, especially when we talk about the mix of what type of power production we are going to have in the province of Saskatchewan, ends up at the cabinet table. So I am fully invested in those conversations and am a part of them, and am a huge advocate.
And that's what I wanted to hear, because obviously, I mean, you guys are not necessarily the ones making the large changes to our power. I think everybody's well aware of that. That's coming from more federal level, but you have to make those decisions. And so no matter what happens, I just want to make sure that Estevan's always going to be the energy city, and so that's going to have to come down to the province.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Frank. Councillor Vrola?
Thank you, Your Worship. Minister Carr, I just wanted to say that when you talk about the 2030 pamphlet that came out, I unfortunately, or my husband, threw it away. And so if I wanted to give my input, where would I go? To the Sask website?
You can go to the Sask Party website, or I have a big stack on my desk at my office.
Okay, so the Sask Party website or the Saskatchewan government website?
This is from the Sask Party.
Okay.
Yes. In fact, if you'd like, I could bring a stack over if you want to leave them at your counter downstairs for people to take if they happen to miss them in the mail.
If you don't mind, Laurie, that would be great.
Not at all.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, go ahead, City Manager.
Mr. Carr, just quick question in regards to, I know there's always the contemplation of natural gas versus coal and what those costs look like. In regards to the impact study, are they taking those impact studies into account? So as we're buying more and more hydro from Manitoba and proposed, are they taking job and income tax figures into account? Because we've asked for impact studies and we haven't got them. So I just want to make sure that those figures are being calculated when you're comparing the natural gas or the hydro compared to the coal.
I would have to check exactly and see if employment numbers such as that are taken into consideration. When we lose a job, does that add to the price of coal or whatever you're buying from someone else because you no longer have coal? I know it does take into consideration, the cost of the product, the cost of operating and maintaining facilities, all of that kind of stuff. So I will double check and see if it takes the people into consideration.
Okay, thank you, City Manager. And again, if there's no more questions, thank you so much. Minister Carr, I'll use your title, which you deserve to be called. I know I always call you Laurie, but thank you so much, Minister Carr, for coming. We appreciate that. And we do thank you for your help. Anytime we have to meet with the minister, you're always there for us, and we do appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you very much for having me, and enjoy the rest of your meeting.
Thank you so much. Okay, moving forward, could we have a motion, please, to adopt the agenda as presented? Thank you, Councillor Hopper. Seconded by Councillor Moore. Any questions or comments? If not, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Next, could we have a motion, please, to accept the minutes of the council meeting held on June 24th, 2019? Thank you, Councillor Yanish, seconded by Councillor Frank. Any questions or comments? If not, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Next, thanks again, Larry. Next, under original communications, delegations, and petitions, we have settlement workers and schools rental request for the multi-purpose room. I'll maybe just read that out. To City Council, and this is from the settlement workers and schools. Good day, I'm Amy Harrelson, a Swiss worker of Estevan and area. Swiss Settlement Workers and Schools is a non-profit organization. It's under the umbrella of the Southeast Advocates for Employment, Inc. This program, in conjunction with the federal government, in partnership with Immigration, Refugees, and Citizenship Canada, as well as our 2 local school divisions here in the Southeast District, the Southeast Cornerstone Public School Division and the Roman Catholic Separate School Division. What SWIS does is we provide support to our newcomer students to help achieve success at schools and their families in their settlement here in Canada. I'm writing you this letter because SWIS has lined up activities for the summer for our students to get involved in sports or activities that would be beneficial for them. Our goal is to help develop in these kids skills to get them to play the sport, socialization skills, conversation, communication skills, leadership skills, overall integration to families and the community. We would like to see them doing some fun stuff outdoors with friends rather than staying in their rooms playing with their gadgets, and by that I would think that's probably the Androids and iPhones. We want to minimize screen time and have more sharing, interaction, and more engaging times. One of what we have planned is to have some summer clinics. We're hoping to hold a Learn to Play Badminton, July 29th, 31st, August 1st, and Learn to Play Basketball, August 6th, 7th, 8th, between 1 p.m. and 3 p.m. In this connection, SWIS would like to ask your support in making some of these activities happen. We are wondering if we could ask your good office for the use of the multi-purpose room for said clinics. We're hoping you can grant us a rate reduction or, if possible, the fee to be waived. It would mean a lot to our newcomer students and their families that they see we are united in building our community together. Hoping for your favorable response. Thank you very much, Amy Harrelson. Go ahead, Councillor Vroba.
Thank you, Your Worship. I was just wondering if we knew, if we went ahead with this, if this would be open to all of the kids in Estevan. So like any kid that happened to be at Leisure Centre that day would be welcome to go in and play a game of badminton, or is it just for the children that aren't
I'm sure we could.
associated?
I'm sure we could, Councillor Vroba. I mean, it would be good integrating
Yeah.
all of the kids, and maybe some of our kids, for whatever reason, don't know how to play basketball.
It's badminton, but
Or badminton.
Oh, it is
and
basketball too, my mistake,
I mean,
sorry.
that's possible, but I'm sure it would be welcome, and Amy would be like that. It would be welcome to all kids
Yeah.
to help, and that would help with the integration as well.
Because I know we do have a nonprofit rate that we do for a lot of the nonprofit groups, but when I was reading this, I thought if we opened it up to all of the kids, if she was willing to do that, then maybe it's something that we could partner with them and just let them, because it's during 1 to 3, which I don't believe there's anything really at a lot of times going on in the multipurpose room at that time.
Yeah.
So if it was open to all of the kids, I would be interested in letting them have it for free. If it's only open to this one group, which is a nonprofit group, then we could maybe give them a nonprofit rate.
Okay. City Manager, can you help us out on that? What's your thoughts on that? The time would be fine, right?
Yeah, I would just have to check for the fitness schedules. I think there is less in the summer, so I'll confirm. But I think that's a fair recommendation, that if it's for a specific group, we can do a prorated rate that's similar to what we do for Affinity Place for non-for-profits.
Yeah, and I'm sure they wouldn't mind opening it up if they could get it for free. And maybe the caveat would be, as long as it's manageable, we don't want too big a group, but still manageable for the people that we have to coach. Would that be fair?
Perfect, yeah.
Okay, and Councillor Moore?
Thank you, Worship. I was just wondering Why can't we do this in the schools?
I don't know. I would think maybe she's already asked the schools, but we can find out about that if you like.
Well, it's kind of weird. We got all the schools and all the courts, and I think that's what we built them for and paid for. I can't imagine why we're going out of there to go and find another building to practice when everything's there.
Well, I'm sure through the good offices of the city clerk, we can talk to Amy and find out if that would be possible. If not, then I'll request a motion that we go ahead with, okay, first of all, Councillor Yadish?
Thank you, Worship, to Councillor Moore. I do think in the summer they do maintenance in the schools, so that's why you're not using the gyms and all that other stuff. They shut it all down for maintenance and lots of times.
As a rule, yeah.
Refinishing the floors and all that other, so they kind of limit the use of your schools in the summer.
Yeah, I think that's a fair comment,
Yeah.
but I think having said that, Councillor Yanish, if there's any availability, we could check with the school boards, then we can fall on that. If not, then we'll go back, and I know Councillor Vrobe is going to make a motion. Did you have a further comment?
I guess if that's the reason, that's the reason, but I can't help but think we're looking at one room, and it'd be surprising if everybody's doing the same thing at the same time and there wouldn't be one room available. I mean, I don't know, but...
Well, yeah, in this case, we would want the court, right, in the
Yeah.
gym, but yeah.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Okay, no problem. Councillor Vrobe?
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd like to make the motion that we proceed with looking into this. If it's for all children in Estevan to participate, then we could partner with them and give it to them at no
Up
cost.
to the manageable number
Right.
with the coaches
Yeah.
provided.
And
Okay.
if it's just for this group, which is a nonprofit, then we give them a reduced rate of the nonprofit rate that we give other groups.
Okay, thank you. Have we got a seconder for that? Thank you, Travis, or Councillor Frank? Okay, any further questions? All in favor? Carried, thank you. Next, under original, communications, delegations, and petitions. We are Saskatchewan, the Saskatchewan Love Project. I thought maybe Minister Carr had brought this forward, but I'm not sure if it says who brought this forward, but I think it's a nice idea. It's probably modeled after I Love New York or I Love Regina. It's probably a way for us to, not that we don't already love our province, but to help us along those lines, especially with the younger people. So the goal from local authors Krista McDivitt and Michael Slobodian, local authors, teachers, and founders of Here We Inspire Creative Publishing have created the Saskatchewan Love Project, an exciting province-wide collaborative writing project. They're gathering stories written by the people of Saskatchewan, highlighting all the reasons to love our province. The Saskatchewan Love Project will capture who Saskatchewan is today, from young children who are just learning about this amazing province to our residents who have lived their long lives in the wheat fields, in our beautiful cities such as Estevan, and everyone in between. So they'll be gathering submissions throughout the summer of 19 from all people around Saskatchewan who wish to be part of the Love Project. Each submission will be incorporated into the publication, with the contributors being credited as participating members. In order to ensure quality, there will be a $5 submission fee per submission. So we encourage all the communities in our great province, and as a token of gratitude to the people of rural Saskatchewan for participating in this exciting project, the community that enters the most proper submissions will not only be part of the Saskatchewan Love Project, but will be the focus of their very own book that will show the world how amazing small town Saskatchewan is. So I would think, City Clerk, that we can pass this on to our local schools, because this probably will involve mostly our younger people, but as well, maybe Councillor Vrobe, your facility and other like facilities for our elderly, retired people, that they can participate as well. I think it's a very worthwhile project.
And actually, Your Worship, it's only up to 100 words, so I've
Right.
decided I can't participate because my stories usually go longer than 100 words. So,
Well, thank you for admitting that, Councillor Vrobe, but yeah, it will be tough for us politicians to be under 100, that's true.
but I will definitely promote this at Creighton Lodge, and I think a few people probably would enjoy putting their submissions in.
Appreciate that.
Your worship, I think we should put it on the website so people can access
Well,
it.
that's awesome. Thank you so much. That's a great idea. So could we have a motion then to put this on our, I just about said our love site. I better rephrase that. Our website, so that everyone will be able to access that. Thank you, Councillor Frank. Seconded by Councillor Yanish. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Next, under written reports of committees, we have none this evening. Executive reports. Parks Manager, Recreation Needs Assessment Summary. And we have Rod with us this evening. Rod, if you don't mind coming up and giving us a few words and an overview, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. So I provided you with a summary report of this 70-odd page document here. But basically, we had Adel West Communications out of Saskatoon provide us with an unbiased, evidence-based resource for consideration of recreational facilities. So I think they did an extremely comprehensive survey. There's some really good data in here, but what I'm taking mostly out of it is what our strengths and positive aspects are, but where we have room for improvement. So they sent out over 6,400 invites to a survey. We had open houses. We had the online survey for a couple of months that was active. We had over 700 respondents. So the value in that is, of course, we're getting a really wide spectrum from not only user groups, but citizens as well as stakeholders from out of the city. So what came of this is a tool for council to use along with the City of Estevan Strategic Plan, the Economic Development Board Strategic Plan, the City of Estevan Our Initiative, and the National Framework for Recreation. So all these things combined will help you make some decisions in the future. And I believe that if you do a really thorough review of this document, you would agree that there's some really good information in here. So what came out of it was 10 recommendations with rationales, and they range in complexity from improving communications, fostering partnerships, that means like getting volunteer groups going again, this sort of thing, to consideration of future multi-use facility development. But this comes with the caveats of feasibility study and community inclusion, being a multi-use facility that's for more than one user group. So out of the 10 recommendations, that was actually recommendation number 6, that you'll see that the respondents of the survey, most of them said that they would look at favorably a small increase in taxes for a future facility. Having said that, only if a feasibility study is done to make sure we actually need it. So this recreation needs assessment says what people want. Now you make that decision based on, okay, is it really feasible to build this? Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Okay. So
and thank you so much, Rod, for your participation and your efforts in this. Much appreciated.
Yeah, so we've taken the 10 recommendations that are in there, and again, I'd like to make this publicly available if that's okay. But the 10 recommendations, actually, the program manager, Aaron Wilson, has already set up a meeting with the ICE user groups for July 25th that I'll be at, and it's part of this communication and strengthening our relationships, which is one of the recommendations in here. So we're going to go over some of the improvements being made to the Power Dodge Ice Center, some of the things that we can do better with scheduling. So that was a lot of the recommendations in here. So we're already carrying through on some of them.
Well, great. Thank you so much, Rod. And I'm sure that'll be the beginning. And then from there, we'll meet with all the user groups, hopefully.
Yes.
After that. Awesome.
Yes.
Thank you so much. And again, thank you for all your efforts on this. Any questions from members of council? If not, thank you so much, Rod. And could we have a motion then that Rod be allowed to release a report and that we move forward with his recommendations? Thank you, Councillor Yanish, seconded by Councillor Moore. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Next, under executive reports, we have the water quality report for June.
Acceptance and approval, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor Hoffer. Have we got a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Groba. Again, we're in, most of the guidelines are within the necessary regulations, but of course our trimethylanes are borderline, and with our new line, water line, which will be completed, City Manager, probably by next summer, next fall, we'll have that operational, and then we'll have that issue taken care of as well. Okay, introduction of bylaws this evening, we have none. Public hearings and reports, we have none. Giving notice, we have proclamation, National Drowning Prevention Week, July 21st to July 27th, 2019. Whereas the mission of the Life Saving Society Canada is to prevent drowning throughout this great country, and even one drowning in Saskatchewan is one too many. And whereas most drownings are preventable in a water-smart community, and only through water-smart education and a healthy respect for the potential danger that any body of water may present, can we truly enjoy the beauty and recreation opportunities offered by these bodies of water. And whereas the Life Saving Society urges Canadians and residents of the City of Estevan to supervise children who are in and around the water to refrain from drinking alcoholic beverages while participating in aquatic activities, and now that would probably include smoking marijuana, and to wear a personal flotation device or life jacket at all times when boating. And whereas the Life Saving Society Canada has declared July 21st, 27th, 2019 National Drowning Prevention Week to focus on the drowning problem and the hundreds of lives that could be saved this year. Therefore, be it resolved that I, Roy Ludwig, do hereby proclaim July 21st to 27th, 2019 National Drowning Prevention Week in the City of Estevan, and do commend in thoughtful recognition to all citizens of our community. So could I have a motion, please, to accept that proclamation? Thank you. Councillor Yanish, seconded by Councillor Hoffert. Any further questions? If not, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Motions from committee this evening, we have none. I'm sorry, we have the resolution to approve a second license of cannabis shop in Estevan. Now, when we first entered down this road, it was the wish of council, although we were given permission for two cannabis shops in the city, we decided to go with the recommendation of the police chief, which was give us a little bit of time, have one first, and then see what problems arose, and then after that amount of time, if you will, then move forward with the second shop. So I think now we feel pretty comfortable in moving forward. Was that the chief outside?
That was.
Yeah, would you mind asking the burly fella sitting on the couch to come in? Paul, come on in, buddy. Thanks, Paul. I just brought it up about the resolution this evening to approve a second license of the cannabis shop. And I explained that initially we wanted to give it some time with our first shop, and now we feel we're ready, and I wanted to hear from you if that was all right, not to put you in the spot. But now the fact that we're ready for the second cannabis shop, and I know the province is in a little bit of confusion right now, but we're hoping they'll get that straightened out in time for this fall to award us that.
Yeah, I think the intent at the time, sorry, Your Worship. I think the intent at the time was to go with the one license, although the city was allotted two, was to go with the one license to see how things played out, because obviously legalization was new to everyone, and with the intent that the city could make an application for that second license when they so desired. So I can tell council that, as I've said to the board, that there's been no problems brought to our attention as a police service in regards to the current cannabis shop. In fact, we're quite surprised that there's been absolutely no complaints.
Pleasantly surprised.
Pleasantly surprised. So certainly from a policing perspective, I don't think it would be prudent for us to withhold that or say that we're against it. Legalization is here, and it's up to council to decide whether or not they want to move forward.
Okay, thank you so much, Chief. Any questions from members of council? Go ahead, Councillor Frank.
I too am pleasantly surprised with how seamless opening a cannabis shop turned out to be, which is great news, and happy. Do you find, obviously the shop itself is not caused us any issue, which is great, but the overall legalization of cannabis, has that created new headaches for the police service? How has monitoring that been and things like that?
Actually, at present, I believe we only have one provincial offense going before the courts right now at present in relation to, and I believe that was in relation to a youth in relation to cannabis. It's too soon to tell what impact it will have from a policing perspective. I think we need a little bit more time to analyze what the call volume is and the number of charges that are being laid. We're still working out, obviously, some kinks with how we go about prosecuting for those types of offenses, whether our own office will prosecute or whether the province will look after prosecuting. Obviously, our preference is that the province should be prosecuting those incidents.
How has monitoring it just with driving and things been? Obviously, a lot less testing and things like that.
We're seeing more tests being conducted than we would normally. I wouldn't say we've seen a large increase in impaired by drugs. My suspicion would be that we are going to see an increase, no different than if we put a significant higher number of officers out there looking for impaired drivers by alcohol. Our impaired statistics would likely go up. It doesn't necessarily mean there's an increase, but obviously now we have drug recognition experts, we have roadside screening, saliva screening devices, we have standardized field sobriety test trained officers, so there's more of an emphasis there. So we may see a bit of a peak before we see what the true numbers are.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Frank. Thank you, Chief. And I guess the big thing with cannabis, same as alcohol, know your limitations, start out slowly, and don't overdo it. Councillor Hoffer.
That's good advice. Sound like you might have some experience there.
With alcohol, I have for sure.
Sorry. Question, not necessarily exactly related to this, but the revenue sharing from the taxes on this, and can you give us an update of your discussions with the Mayor's Caucus, where this is at? I know we're lobbying the province to share some of that newfound wealth. Is there any hope of that?
Yeah, that's a good point, Councillor Hoffer, and thank you for bringing that forward. As you know, the federal government, our understanding is that their understanding that a portion of the cannabis sales would go to municipalities to help take care of the issues that arise from cannabis, but the province has been reluctant to do that. All of the mayors have sent in a letter that we all signed requesting that we get that extra funding. Minister Harpower politely said, no, that is not our understanding from the federal government, and we will keep it. Thank you very much. But we will continue to lobby the province for that, and through our cabinet minister as well, Laurie. Good point. Okay, thank you. Any other questions? If not, could I have a motion, please, to approve the second license of cannabis shop in Estevan? Thank you. Councillor Yanish, seconded by Councillor Groba. Any other questions? If not, all in favor? Thank you. Next, consideration of bylaws. We have none this evening. Inquiries. Councillor Hoffer.
Thank you, Your Worship. You'll recall I didn't have any last week. I was saving up for this meeting.
Oh, that's fine.
Thank you.
No problem.
Just a few things. Firstly, I wanted to mention the good work of everyone at the TSNM Woodlawn Golf Course as it relates to junior golfing in Estevan. And proud to say we have another junior champion in Jace Carlisle, won the junior championships at the recent provincial golf tournament. So congratulations to this young man who's also, I believe, secured a college scholarship recently. It's just a testament to the good work they're doing down there at the golf course, and I think perhaps a certificate of merit autographed by yourself would be an honor.
Absolutely, we can do that.
If you could do that. Secondly, I just wanted to make a quick comment about the Sewers Valley Theatre. I've had a chance to attend a couple of their productions so far this summer, and they we gave this group a lot of consideration, a lot of inquiries, a lot of debate, a lot of discussion. They really were under the gun, I would say, would be fair to say, this year. And it's not, I mean, we all support the theater and the arts in Estevan. It was a matter of the attendance at some of these productions, and I would think, based on the attendance I saw there, things are in good shape there, and they've had a really resounding year. So to Councillor Varoba and the access man, Robert Godfrey, is here tonight, who's also involved in that group. Job well done. I think you guys have really resurrected the theater, and congratulations. And we were not shy to put the heat on you as far as the city contributions to that go, and you've responded very well, so thank you for that. Inquiries, SAMA update. I brought a proposal forward a couple of meetings ago. Just wondered through you, your worship, to the city manager, if there had been any discussions with our assessor as to your thoughts on that, or if anything back from there, or if your holiday schedules meshed or got in the way of any real discussion on that so far.
Okay, city manager, please.
Through your worship to Councillor Hoffert, the one update we can talk about is I did have a city managers forum up in Saskatoon here a couple weeks ago, and it looks like a very consistent agreement on that SAMA assessment and how that is working, and that a simplified method could potentially make life easier for the big cities as well as the small cities. So I believe at the next city managers and city mayors caucus, there will be more discussion on that, and hopefully a more distinct lobby effort on that fair market value approach that you had brought up before could be taken from the groups as a whole. And I think that could produce some sort of benefits, because the lobby right now to have the assessment cycle changed is not yielding very good results. So
that's excellent to hear. Thank you very much. It's just SAMA's quest to find the perfect system has failed. There's not a perfect system, so they need to simplify it. So thank you. I'm glad to see there's progress there. It occurred to me as we were talking to the minister and this Saskatchewan 2030 report that they're looking for input on, I'd like to suggest we do an Estevan 2030 report, and perhaps we could start the discussion at the next ECDEV committee in Estevan. And maybe some of our goals would line up, or at the very least it'd be another way to bring it to everyone's attention what we'd like Estevan to look like in 2030. It's another way to highlight our needs to create new investment, new opportunities, new revenue streams in Estevan in light of closing of Unit 3 and 4. I'm assuming we're going to be successful with Unit 6 and Shan, but that's not going to take away. They are not turning back on the decisions to close 3 and 4, Units 3 and 4 at Boundary Dam. And so we need to get inventive, and you've done a lot of good work getting the funding to create the positions to start doing that, but perhaps a 2030 document could be another. So I'd just like to suggest we do that Estevan 2030.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Councillor Hoffert, and I'd like to congratulate Jace Carlisle, and I'd like to thank Ms. Mitchin and all of the people down there at Woodlawn. They do a fantastic job for all of their work. And on the Souris Valley, again, we'd like to thank Councillor Vroba, who's in charge on our behalf on the committee, for all of her efforts. I know it wasn't easy, but also, Robert, your committee as well, which you had a big portion of. I mean, that was through collaboration and basically being open about the issues, and thank you so much for collectively turning that whole issue around. We appreciate that. And anyone who has not been, I guess it's over now, ranchers and rustlers, it was fantastic. And I think sometimes it maybe pays to go back to old school and what does work, and I think with the live bands and what you're doing now will be very successful, and we appreciate your efforts. Okay, Councillor Vroba. And I guess one other thing, the SAMA, that's a good point. Councillor Hoffert will continue to work on that. As you know, that was a huge issue, especially for our industrial people, and we still need a lot of work on that. And as far as the 2030 report, I agree, let's work collectively, collaboratively as a council, the ECDEV committee. It needs all of us, shoulder to the wheel, on this issue to try to make up for the potential economic loss come 21 and 24. Thank you. Councillor Vroa.
Thank you, Your Worship. I have a few things actually, and thank you for both of your kind words about the Souris Valley Theatre, because Robert is our president and I do represent the city interest on that board, and a lot of hard-working board members who have a passion for the arts who wanted to see it go, and you're right, they went back to the basics this year, brought back what the community obviously wanted to see, because Ranchers and Rustlers was phenomenal. The first week we started out with crowds of about 100. By the second week we were hosting crowds of almost 200 and more. So, yeah, it was a very good play. They've already got great ideas too for next year. And also, we have the Doe family, which is coming up this Wednesday, the 17th of July, and they've got the Bobby Bowen family band with them. Last year, that was a sold-out event, and they actually had to bring in extra chairs. Somehow people got extra tickets, or somehow we sold extra tickets, but we didn't turn them away. We put out extra seats, and it was a phenomenal concert and a phenomenal crowd. So I know we're going to do it again this Wednesday. I just checked the website, just over half of it sold. So you have about 48 hours to get your tickets. So if anyone hasn't, please do so. The other thing is we have a 20th anniversary of the Estevan Motor Speedway coming up. Lynn Trobert has asked that the city can give greetings there, and I know I spoke to you, so we'll talk about that later. But so for everybody else too, the race is going to start at 6 p.m. I think it was advertised at 7, but they've changed that now. So 6 p.m. on Sunday, July 21st is their 20th anniversary celebration. And also a huge congratulations to Southern Plains Co-op for opening up a liquor store inside of one of my favorite grocery stores in Estevan. And so now my two favorite stores are in there, so it's good. Just kidding. But it is nice to see. I did have one concern from a resident who said that Estevan was not in need of another liquor store. However, the co-op did not create another liquor store. The co-op took over an existing off-sale license. So we didn't actually gain an extra liquor store. We just got one on this side of town.
Exactly.
So congratulations to them for filling a void. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Vroba. And we'd also like to thank Lynn Trobert for all of her efforts with the Motor Speedway. My God, that woman has just been a rock down there in turning that around and keeping it going. So we thank Lynn for all of her efforts.
Yes, I spoke to her today, and she's tired from all the planning, but she's looking forward to the 20th anniversary. So
Absolutely. Thank you. Councillor Yanish? Nothing? Okay. Councillor Frank?
Just Rafferty Rumble's coming up, only a couple weeks away from that. It's going to be a massive event. The art gallery has been putting a lot of work into the street dance, so it's going to be great fun, and we still need tons and tons of volunteers. So if you're interested, please go to the Rafferty Rumble website to sign up.
Thank you, Councillor Frank, and that's very important. I know our volunteers, we have some of the best in Western Canada. When we need them, they always show up, so this is our time that we're asking, please, for them to step forward, and I know that they will.
Absolutely, and I believe if you volunteer for 2 shifts or more, you get free tickets to the concert. So definitely
Awesome.
worth putting in a few hours somewhere throughout the weekend and then enjoying the rest of it. So
Totally, thank you for that. Councillor Moore?
Thank you, Worship. I just want to remind the public again that when they have a problem with their sidewalk, I had talked to a lady only 2 days ago that had fallen last January and done a damage to her face and her arm and her wrist. And she didn't even bother to phone the city to let them know that that it happened. So I said to her, well, how would we know the problems there? We got to have the public. And so I just want to remind everybody, if they got a problem like that or see a problem like that, there's no shame or no harm to call the city hall and report it. And then we will look after what has to be done, because the ones that are off level, I think the crew that came in last year and ground it down so that it would be smooth on those joints, I think they did a pretty good job. But we can only do what's been reported to us, other than what we all see as citizens. So again, just don't be afraid. It seems like the people are afraid to phone City Hall, I guess because they think they're either being a crybaby about it or they're being a nuisance, but that's not the case at all. The more we know, the better we can fix it. So it's just a reminder.
Good point. Thank you, Councillor Moore. And if they do phone down, we have very friendly and professional people that will take care of their problem.
Yeah.
Thank you. City Manager?
Thank you, Worship. A couple things. I know we did have Jace Carlisle as a provincial golf champion, and I did notice that our Estevan bowling team is a national champion.
Wow.
And that's Levi Rosenbaum, Craig Yonner, Taylor Kilkley, and John Eberly. So national champions out of Estevan is pretty awesome. Just to follow up on Councillor Moore's statement, we did have a hydrant leaking, and the only way we found about it was from a Facebook post. If you see something like that, don't put it on Facebook assuming we're going to see it. Please phone 306-634-1800. We're going to be putting out a campaign on Facebook and in the paper. I don't know if some people maybe don't know who to call, but our 1800 line does get forwarded to our emergency line after hours. So don't just put on Facebook and share. Please phone us and let us know.
Thank you, City Manager. And again, congratulations to our national bowling champs. And we'll have to, City Clerk, line those up as well. And maybe while we have you here, City Manager, would you mind maybe just explaining that Rusty Deuce Park, we had a bit of an issue. We're going to try to fix it if we can afford it, but right now it's out of use for probably what, at least, would you say a week or two?
I think we have Rod here that can.
Well, Rod, would you mind explaining? Thanks, Paul. Appreciate it.
So I was asked to go take a look at Rusty Deuce. The play park's there, the pool wasn't draining properly. So when I looked at it, it has like a 3-foot diameter sump that's about 8 or 9 feet down. The pool drain line goes into the sump. I'm assuming in the 60s when it was built, it was meant as some kind of a sediment trap or something. Then from the sump, it exits through the sanitary into the street. That line continually plugged. So what we're seeing is an erosion of all the sand material underneath that pool is plugging up our sewer line. So we had to shut it down. I checked it today. It's still about 4 feet of water in that sump. So it's probably mostly groundwater. The pool's empty. So we had to pump it out with a volume pump just for safety. So right now, I've asked a contracting plumber to take a look at it. It's highly unlikely it's going to be safe enough because the fix would be to get down there and attach the line directly straight through so you don't pick up the sediment along the way. I don't know why it wasn't done years ago, but that's what we're dealing with right now. Like I said, it must have been a reason for the sump at one time. But to fix it, we can put the line straight through, but it's not safe to go down there because it's about 9 feet down. The entire area is so unstable because it's so wet with groundwater that no one will go down there. So our options are, as I said to City Manager, we'll wait for 1 week to see if the groundwater recedes, because when we vacuumed it out with our vac truck, it took less than 3 minutes for that sump to fill up again. So you can't get down there, you can't see it. It's just an eddy whirlpool of water down there that's swishing that sand around, taking it from the pool underneath the pool deck and pushing it through our sanitary. So we had to shut it down or it would plug the sanitary. Then we'd be looking at digging up Nicholson, which nobody would want. So the options are, we see if we can get in there once the groundwater drops. If we can't, we have to dig. Because it's down about 9 feet, it's an expensive venture because we have to dig back so far to make it safe for someone to go down there. So, and there's the water lines going in there. There's the drain coming out as well as an overflow coming out. So you got a lot going on in one little spot, but it's just unsafe to go down there right now. So we're waiting for it to subside.
Okay, so once you have more information, we can discuss the options.
Yes.
Okay, Councillor Vroba?
Thank you, Worship. I know a lot of cities are trying to get away from paddling pools because of different reasoning, and I think I read up a few different cities there. One of them is staffing, but I do know that Rusty Deuce is very much utilized by the children in that neighborhood for their morning programs. So I'm just wondering, do our other splash parks in that neighborhood in Pleasantdale, do they have the morning craft programs? Do we have any staff at all in the splash parks?
No, because they're kind of combined like a lifeguard / lifesaver with the crafts programs that are going on there.
Yeah, so if we ever lost, sorry Rod, if we ever lost the Rusty Deuce Park, we would also lose that programming potentially?
Oh, we could switch it to
Or we
one of the
could switch
splash
it.
parks, but that's a question for Erin Wilson. She looks after the programming.
Right, sorry, yeah, I'm getting off
Yeah.
topic there with you. And
No,
then my
no.
other thing was, if the ground was frozen, would that make it, at that time, could you go down there? Like if we waited until the fall
Well, the
or
groundwater
spring?
wouldn't freeze. Like, it's down below the frost line, so even when
Okay.
we bury people in the winter, it's still, you hit water.
Yeah, so it would still, okay, yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Vroba. Any other further questions, City Clerk? City Treasurer?
Nothing, Your Worship.
Okay, thank you. If not, then I guess I'll ask for a motion to move into committee. Councillor Frank, seconded by Councillor Hoffer. All in favor? Thank you. We stand adjourned. Good evening. Thank you.